TSN Chicago is presented by State Farm. Game number 1 of a 10-game homestand comes against the Oakland Athletics. The first of 3 tonight on this country music night at the ballpark. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone along with you. Steve chose the hats, I chose the shirts. Sox bottom of the order recently has been quite good.
Winning 9-0 yesterday, everything went right, including 8 and 9 in the batting order because they went 7 for 10 and drove in 3 runs. Take a look at Kevin Smith and Adam Engel. You're hoping to get some production out of the bottom part of the order. Engel giving him a lot of speed to go with it. Both of them playing good, solid defense, but it was the offense that was brought to light yesterday. So both of these guys did just about everything they had to do in order to help win that ball game. And there you see in the last 5 games, Kevin Smith hitting a robust .476. Adam Engel hitting .429. Adam Engel gives them solid defense in center field, and Kevin's been very good behind the plate, and hopefully that continues for both of these guys.
This Oakland team is in last place as they come in the American League West, but there is certainly some sluggers in this lineup.
They've got some guys who can hit the ball out of the park consistently, and it doesn't matter what park they're in because they don't have a hitter's ballpark in Oakland. But as you see, Chris Davis with 18 home runs, Yonder Alonso, whose highest home run total in any year had been 9 heading into this one, has 17. Ryan Healy, one of their good young players, has 17 also. So these guys can bang the baseball. The question is for them, will their pitching hold up? And that's going to be the story tonight.
Well, the starting pitchers are a young guy for Oakland and a veteran for the Sox.
Mike Pelfrey going to the mound for the Sox, and lately he's throwing well, and Jarrell Cotton going to the mound for the A's, and we'll take a look at both of them. Cotton this year, 4-7 with an ERA up over 5. He throws a lot of high fastballs, throws a lot of fly balls, and that's not going to play well when it gets warm here. Mike Pelfrey has thrown it great. In fact, the last 5 times out, he's been brilliant, including last time out at Toronto. 6 innings, his longest performance of the year, and he threw it very well. So I'm Hoot Heapstein. He's Schleppalong Catskill. We should have a wonderful night tonight.
I reckon we got a baseball to lasso.
Yes.
Oh, no. Sox and A's coming up. Game 1, if you dare.
TSN Chicago is brought to you in part by Toyota. Tested, trusted, Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, through it all. By Lexus, who encourages you to experience amazing. And by Miller Lite, the original light beer. Miller Lite, hold true.
A little extra twang in the ballpark tonight. Country Music Night presented by Coca-Cola, along with fireworks tonight after the game, as well as the Sox take on the Oakland Athletics. Game number 1 of what's tied for the longest homestand of this season. A 10-game homestand, 3 with Oakland, then 4 with the New York Yankees, and 3 with the Texas Rangers. So nobody in division, 6 against the West and 4 against the American League East, as Oakland comes in a very bizarre last 8 games. They swept the Yankees and then were swept by the Houston Astros.
Well, Oakland, when you look at their record, it's easy to see why they're at where they are, and that is they played well at home. They're 5 over. They're 22-17, but going on the road has been problematic for them. 9-25 on the road. And the Sox have played 44 road games, and heading into this one, just 27 here at Guaranteed Rate Field. So a very heavy later in the season home schedule favors the ball club because the Sox are 15-12 here in Chicago and looking for a good solid homestand, one where this offense that's really been lively over the last 6 weeks comes to life in this ballpark. They're starting to hit the ball out of the park with regularity. Normally when the Sox do hit home runs, they do very well. And they got a few guys that are starting to heat it up. Todd Frazier, one of them. Matt Davidson, another one. Of course, Abreu is hitting everything in sight.
Mike Pelfrey leads him out, the 33-year-old who has pitched very well for the Sox in recent days, including a great performance in Toronto during last weekend in the 2 of 3 in the victory column against the Blue Jays. Here's the Oakland lineup. It's a very young lineup. Couple veteran names you'll recognize, couple you may not. Matt Joyce at the top of the card, we've seen with a couple of other teams. Olsen in the 2 spot, just 23 years old. Then Lowry and Davis and Yonder Alonso with that career year Steve was telling you about. Then some of the young guys, Healy, Pinder, Maxwell just up, and Brugman is the center fielder.
Let's take a look at the defense and how they'll line up behind a resurgent Mike Pelfrey. Melky Cabrera, Adam Engel, Avisail Garcia in the outfield with Todd Frazier, Tim Anderson, Yomer Sanchez, and Jose Abreu. Left to right in the infield, Kevin Smith once again behind the plate. And our Lexus Experience amazing starting pitchers Mike Pelfrey, who lately has thrown it awfully well. He's making his 12th start of the year, 13th game, that 1-inning stint out of the bullpen. There you look at the rest of the numbers. He's thrown a good slow curveball, getting it over the plate, changing speeds, and last time he went 6 innings and threw it exceptionally well in Toronto. The umpires for the game tonight: Jim Wolf behind the plate, DJ Rayburn's at first, Sam Holbrook, who is the crew chief, is at second, and Greg Gibson is at third. So a beautiful day, getting a little bit overcast now, but no rain in the forecast. Sox are ready to kick off a long homestand, feeling comfortable after what has been a very road-heavy early part of the season.
Oakland has found the road to be very heavy, by the way. The A's have the 2nd worst road record in Major League Baseball at 9 up and 25 down coming into tonight. So it will be Matt Joyce leading off. There will be in this lineup 6 hitting left-handed against Mike Pelfrey. So Joyce is the first of those, the veteran 32-year-old who's at .227 for the year. With this, we are underway, in a foul ball from Joyce for an Oakland team that's 31 up and 42 down, 18.5 back of the Houston Astros, who have come out of the gate and about halfway home through this season are very clearly the best team in the American League.
This is an interesting mix for Oakland because you got some very young players, and they signed Joyce for 2 years to give him stability. 2-year contract for $11 million. He hits right-handers pretty well, doesn't hit the left-handers very well.
Well, the Sox headlining lefty Jose Quintana pitched yesterday and pitched very well. Derek Holland is scheduled to pitch in the final game of this series on Sunday.
Quintana rediscovered that straight change, and it's been absolutely brilliant the last 2 times out.
Yeah, Jose yesterday a season high 15 changeups in that victory.
And he threw slow curveballs to go with it. So he had both the put away curveball. He struck out 9, didn't walk anybody. The control was brilliant, and that's more the Quintana we've seen over the last 4.5 years.
Called strike 3, very top of the zone, and Pelfrey starts with a bang against Joyce.
We'll take another look, and this one had the top part of the zone. The ball drifts back over the plate. Mike Pelfrey, who's changed speeds very well, incorporated even a slower curveball now than he's been throwing over the last few years, gets a strike out to kick off the ball game.
He'll now face Matt Olson, 23-year-old, who is 2 for 12 this season. Both hits coming in yesterday's game against the Astros. The A's were down yesterday 11-1 and came back to make it a 12-9 final.
They've got some thunder in this lineup. You've got to pitch very carefully to a whole lot of these hitters where they don't have a great deal of speed. They do have a middle of the lineup that can scare just about anybody.
7th season for Bob Melvin as the skipper of the Oakland A's. 3 playoff appearances coming early on in his tenure. Now 1-2 on Olson.
Bob Melvin is an excellent manager, doesn't get a whole lot of credit for it, but he was one of the guys. He was in fact the bench coach for Bob Brenly on that team that won it all with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2001. And anybody who's played for him will tell you just how good he is.
On the ground, third base side. This is a tough play for Frazier, and he has time it up for out number 2.
Outstanding effort by Todd Frazier. The shift was on. Todd was the only guy on the left side of the infield, and he came in with the bare hand and threw him out. We talked about this team not having much speed. Here's an example of it. Good play by Frazier. The bare hand throw in the same motion. The off balance throw is right on the money, and he gets Olson by a full step.
Todd Frazier says 2 down. Thank you very much. And the first pitch to Jed Lowry is ball number 1.
This is a resurgent Jed Lowry, who now has very healthy legs. He's making the most of it. He was very much an arm hitter the last year or so. Now he's feeling 100%, and with it, the numbers have risen.
He's tied for 4th in Major League Baseball with 23 doubles, behind only Nolan Arenado, Odubel Herrera of Philadelphia, and Mookie Betts of the Red Sox.
It's pretty good company.
Herrera is one of the bright spots in a very rough season for Philadelphia, and Arenado is one of the many bright spots for the Colorado Rockies right now.
Been just a great year for Colorado, and Arenado one of the guys leading the way. Plus with him you factor in a consistently outstanding defense to go with all of that offense.
There is the very dangerous Chris Davis with 18 home runs to his name to lead this team, and he will bat with a runner on. A 2-out walk from Pelfrey to Lowry.
Davis has a huge swing. He is very vulnerable inside. You can tie him up easily. The problem is if you miss in there, he's going to hit it 8 miles. One of the most powerful guys around. He has 97 strikeouts in 71 games. On his way most likely to 200 this year if he continues to get the kind of play he's gotten to this point.
He is 6th in Major League Baseball in strikeout percentage at 32% of the time. That's almost a third, kids. But he can do this as well. Deep to center field and gone off the shrubs.
First ball fastball right down the middle, and again, when you've got a hole in your swing inside, if you miss it all, and I don't think Mike Pelfrey was trying to throw it over the plate, he got it there, and Davis hit his 19th. He's driven in 48. That was a blast in straightaway center field. There is no park in baseball that can hold him. Our Ford home run replay, he gets all of it and takes it out.
So Chris Davis with an absolute bullet to center field, and now ball one to Yonder Alonso. I mean, that ball was singed.
Yeah, not much doubt about it. Adam Engel took a couple of steps and then just looked up.
107 miles an hour is the exit velocity, and the distance 437 feet.
I don't think he actually got all that. I think he's I do believe he's a lot stronger, can hit it farther, but certainly good enough. It was out over the plate and bang.
Well, we told you if you joined us for Butch Cassidy and the Stone Dance Kid off the top about the sluggers in the middle of this order. This is what really makes Oakland go when the A's go.
Here's a surprising story. That's Yonder Alonso. The most prolific year was 9 home runs. He was a #1 draft pick for the Cincinnati Reds originally, taken 1 pick before Gordon Beckham. He was 7, Beckham was 8, and the one thing he didn't have power.
Breaking ball hit in the air right center field, and Adam Engel to secure out number 3. So Alonso wiped away this time, and Chris Davis was not. A 2-run homer gives the A's the lead, and Jarrell Cotton tries to keep the Sox at bay. Trip finale. See what the encore is today as Jose Abreu bats second for the first time under Ricky Renteria, then Garcia and Frazier after Melky, Davidson, Anderson, Sanchez, and Smith and Engel, who, as we told you in the open, have been very good at the bottom of the order recently.
We'll take a look at the defense and how they'll line up behind Jarrell Cotton. It's Joyce, Brugman, and Olsen in the outfield with Healy, Pinder, Lowry, and Alonso in the infield. Bruce Maxwell behind the plate. Our Lexus experienced amazing starting pitcher is a man you're looking at, Jarrell Cotton.
25-year-old in his second season in the majors has ball number 1 for Melky.
5'11", knocking on the door of 200 pounds, out of the Dodger organization originally.
Last couple of starts have been rough, although 6 1/3 against the Yankees, just 3 earned runs is a nice feat considering what New York has done offensively.
He's got a premier straight change. Slider might be a bit better than the curveball. He has a fastball to go with it. And there you look at the numbers. On for his 13th start. The ERA close to 5.5, a 4-7 record. And the right-handers have hit him better than the left-handers. That is the mark of a guy with a good straight change, which he throws primarily to the left-hand hitters.
That one stayed up, and Melky chops it just short, and Chad Pinder for out number 1. He's another guy, Cotton, where the slider kind of looks like a cutter every once and again.
Well, if you're throwing a slider, the best thing to do is have 2 different sliders. One with depth. That looks a bit like a curveball. The other slides straight across, which obviously looks exactly like a cutter. And different pitchers will name the pitch something else. There's some guys who say I throw a curveball. Other guys say just a slider. But for Cotton, there's a distinct curveball and a slider.
Here's Jose Abreu batting second. And there's ball number 1. Said to Ricky Renteria why today for Abreu being number 2 in the order, and he said, well, righties have had some success this year against Cotton, so bump Abreu up and maybe take advantage of those reverse splits.
That's because of that straight change. He doesn't throw it to right-handers near as much. He got very lucky with that slider because it didn't do much. He was trying to throw it away. It went right down the middle.
In right field, Olsen is there for out number 2. Another ball that was a dart off the bat of Abreu. Turns out to be out number 2. Picks to click tonight. Vote online, WhiteSox.com/pick-to-click. And it's a 2-horse race right now. Steve and the crew tied at 10. The fans are hard charging, and my horse is lagging down the home stretch in the first half. You're going Melky again, huh? How novel.
Well, I didn't pick him a lot on the road. I actually switched it up, and that's probably why I didn't win anything. But I wish I'd have taken Adam Engel yesterday. I didn't have the foresight to predict he was going to get 4 hits. It's quite a day for him.
Was foresight a pun there? I hope not. 2 down and a half swing by Avi for strike 1. I mean, a career day for Adam Engel.
It was.
On those splits for Cotton, by the way, righties are slugging about 100 points better this year than left-handers, which is good news for a Sox team that is right-hand heavy. Down the right field side, Olsen to the corner, and that ball does find the seats for strike 2.
And what Avi has to do is a little like Matt Davidson, who's in the 5 spot tonight, and that is lay off some high fastballs, because as hot as he is, the league is trying to make some adjustments, and so you have the advanced scouts taking a look at him, realizing that he's waiting back on off-speed pitches now better than he has before. They're trying to go after him with high fastballs.
Maybe you see one right here. He does. He lays off.
And because there's a continuing book all season long on these hitters, they will make adjustments as things move along, and that's one of the adjustments the league is trying to make against Avi, who's hitting just about everything else.
High breaking ball. That's more of the curveball. 2-2 on Avi, who's 7 for his last 13. Cotton didn't like the first one from Maxwell. A very young battery tonight for Oakland.
Maxwell getting some play now. Stephen Vogt, a 2-time All-Star, was a guy they designated for assignment, and one of the reasons is that he was over 30, and they want to go with a younger group. And so Maxwell getting his opportunity. He's a guy that hasn't shown the power yet. He has some. He's been very good behind the plate, and he's going to get every opportunity to show what he can do.
Vogt, a very well-liked Oakland player, couple-time All-Star. But Maxwell, who's out of tiny Birmingham Southern, getting another chance in the big leagues. We've seen him up and down this year and last year. 2-2. Off the fist to shortstop and Pinder. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Jarrell Cotton in the first. 2-0 Oakland after 1 to start the homestand. CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm.
Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Well, the game being on time is a good time, as you see the cowboy hats in attendance for country music night here at the ballpark. A 4-hour and 50-minute rain delay yesterday. If you just joined in to the Sox season or missed the game yesterday, it was a longer delay than it was a game. The longest in Twins history at home.
It was still a fairly long game, so what started out where you thought with a 12 o'clock game you'd get a nice dinner in Chicago and enjoy everything, well, if the dinner was at 12:15, you hit it right on the button.
12:15 a.m.
At night, yes, or early morning.
By the way, Jose Quintana said after the game that, 4 hours, 50 minutes, he's got to do something with his time. He said he was getting a little bit bored of looking at his tablet, but he watched actually 2 full-length movies during the rain delay, Fast and Furious 7 and Get Out.
Could have done most of the Godfather series if you wanted to.
Ben-Hur twice.
It just never stopped raining. I mean, it just kept on raining.
1-2 on powerful Ryan Healy, who's got 8 home runs this month, 8 of his 17 so far this season.
Oakland is trying to do what they have tried to do for many years now, restock and bring young players through, which is cost effective. And they've got some guys who can hit the ball out of the park. That's the good news. Pitching has been problematic.
While we have a moment, let's welcome all our viewers watching on Farmers Cooperative Telephone Company in Tama County, Iowa.
Beautiful night for baseball. Great night to be at the ballpark. 80 degrees at game time. The wind, not much of a factor tonight.
Good news for the pitchers in this ballpark. Supposed to have a gusty week next week. Looking ahead at the forecast, as there's a swing and a miss, and Healy goes down on strike. Second strikeout for Pelfrey.
First strikeout looking. That was to Matt Joyce. Second strikeout on the very slow hook. And Healy, one thing to get out on the front foot, but you have to keep your hands back. He wasn't able to do either on that slow hook.
So one down for Chad Pinder, who's driven in 7 runs his last 7 games. This is a bleeder to third, and Frazier for out number 2. The 2017 Chicago White Sox are presented by Guaranteed Rate. Go to rate.com for a low rate and the best mortgage experience on the planet.
We told you this Oakland team didn't have a whole lot of speed. They've only swiped 22 bases. Been thrown out 12 times.
Maxwell, who's only been up for 23 at bats worth, takes strike number 1. Did have 3 hits yesterday in his return after being in the minors from May 14th to yesterday. In the air left side, Melky oncoming, and it drops in front of him. Maxwell, a 2-out single.
Got a smile on his face. He didn't get a whole lot of it, but got enough of it. Melky with no chance. Maxwell does have some power, so he's playing fairly deep left field against him, and that one just looped in front of him. So a few words with Jose Abreu at first.
Exit velocity of school zone.
Yes. Exit velocity of 8. But effective.
So here's the young center fielder Brugman, who just played in his first major league game within the last couple of weeks. And he gets the benefit there for ball 1.
They brought over Trevor Plouffe in the offseason, already shuttled him along to Tampa. That's not the last of the deals. Everybody inquiring about Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray one of the real good young pitchers around, having a resurgent year this year.
You would imagine the scouts would be out in rather full force on Sunday for Sonny Gray versus Derek Holland in the finale of this series.
Yeah, getting to the point now where with the draft already over, teams concentrating on the trading deadline, which is coming up, and with the 2 wild cards, a lot of teams in contention looking for some help.
You know, it's interesting to look at where the Sox are in the division right now. Sox are a half game up on Detroit for last place. The Tigers, who have some pieces that you would think folks would be interested in, are 32-40 opening play tonight. And Kansas City, which started so bumpily this season, is now within a game of 500.
One of the problems with the Tigers is that they've got a lot of players who are older, who are on big contracts. And so if the Tigers do want to move some guys, and they have some people who are very inviting as far as acquiring, but they're going to have to pay a good portion of the salaries. And I don't think there's a lot of teams saying they can't make it out of the Central. Central is just sitting there, although Cleveland is the class of the division. They've yet to really put that big streak together, but now that Encarnacion is hitting, that's probably coming.
They might be on it right now, actually.
Yeah, they're really strong.
You kind of feel it starting to bubble. Ramirez had a multi-hit game streak of nearly a couple weeks, broken yesterday.
The surprising thing with Cleveland is 15-17 at home. They're going to get a whole lot better as they move along. One of the reasons why they just couldn't win at home was they had a lot of games early, and Encarnacion in the cold weather just didn't deliver. First time, by the way, in a long time that he was playing outside each and every game.
Maxwell at first, 3-2, runners off, and a foul ball from Brugman. A's lead on a 2-run homer with 2 out in the first by Chris Davis. Well, by the time this homestand is over, the calendar will have turned to July. And suddenly a Sox team that has used the word trade very publicly, very honestly about some of the guys on this roster are starting to get to that moment when you might see folks begin to leave.
Well, Rick Hahn has been adamant in saying exactly what he said over the wintertime, was that it's a rebuilding year. And in a rebuilding year, pretty much all the players have a for sale sign on them, depending on how much you want to pay for each and every one of these guys. There's some guys you just don't want to deal, but for the right deal, probably have anybody. And you know, the old saying goes, if Babe Ruth can be moved, anybody can be moved.
Maxwell's off. 3-2 is off the plate for ball 4. Close pitch, 2 on.
But with 2 outs and nobody on, Mike walked Lowry and gave up a 2-run homer to Davis. And the walk to Brugman keeps the inning alive, but now they're 2 on and 2 out.
For Joyce, who struck out in the first. Popped it up third base side. Frazier is underneath, and that will do it. Mike Pelfrey this year has been very good with 2 down. That's more like it on the pop-up. 2-0 A's after 1.5.
my game report, and a very happy birthday to Tim Anderson. I asked him if he ever thought he would be playing a Major League Baseball game on his 24th birthday. He said, no, absolutely not. I didn't even think that I would be called up at age 22. Now, as for birthday celebrations, his wife Bria cooked him dinner last night, a little mashed potatoes, meatloaf, and peas, but the team didn't get home till so late that he ended up reheating it when he got home at midnight. And he says he plans on taking his daughter Peyton to the zoo tomorrow after the game. So, guys, a very mature 24th birthday celebration for Tim Anderson, I would say, right?
Yeah, very much, and very smart, by the way, of Bria, because if there's any meal that can be reheated well, it's meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
It's much better, actually, reheated.
You think so?
Oh, very much so, yes.
One of these times when we have an instant replay that goes long, we'll do Steve's top 5 reheated foods. And you can take your leftover questions to Mr. Stone.
There's actually nothing like a good soft pasta reheated. It's called soup.
You just put your pasta in a blender is basically what you're saying. Steve's cookbook will be out when it's published. Never. Upstairs to Frazier, who's on a 4-game hit streak, and you said it, Todd's starting to hit the ball a little bit better now and maybe find that pocket that he wants to be in offensively.
Outfield playing him straight away. Infield not overly shifted on him.
Called a strike. Todd didn't like it, but it was very close to the zone. 2-2.
There are a lot of teams that play him as a dead pull hitter. Oakland, not one of them. In fact, Lowry at second base actually moved to his left closer to first base when it got to 2 strikes.
Still 2-2 on Todd, who is walking this year more than he ever has in his major league or minor league career. His walk rate's up to above 13%. He leads the team in walks, and I think it was a couple weeks ago he had that 3-walk game, and you thought maybe that would be the precursor to this type of mini streak. That's a called strike 3 on Frazier, and 1 down here in the second.
Todd wasn't particularly happy with the call by Jim Wolf. And Jim Wolf not particularly happy with Todd Frazier questioning the location of that. I thought it was up, and I think that Maxwell thought it was up because he yanked it back down more in the zone, and so Todd couldn't believe it. But it's a called third.
One down for Davidson, who takes a hook for a strike from Cotton. 7 home runs his last 10 games for Matt Davidson, up to 17 in this still officially his rookie season in Major League Baseball.
He's swinging it real well, and when he gets any part of it, he usually goes out of the park.
In the air, short right center field, drops. Lowry thought he had a play on it. He didn't. Davidson safe.
And Brugman never really saw the ball. Brugman started back, and by the time he regrouped, he couldn't get to it. So that's a tough play for an infielder. Lowry thought he had it. He doesn't. And Olsen and Brugman didn't get all that close. Tough play for an infielder. That was up long enough that somebody should have had it, but it was misread by Brugman, who was playing his first game in center field in his ballpark. And so it's not the easiest thing to read fly balls when you've never been someplace.
Anderson on the ground. Pinder at short. Lowry to turn. It's a double play. Nice play by Chad Pinder, the Athletic shortstop. Inning over. 2-0 A's after 2. Field as the Sox take on the A's Sunday, June 25th. That's this Sunday. Southpaw's birthday. First 7,500 kids get a Southpaw bobblehead presented by Mercury, Chicago's Skyline Cruise Line. Visit WhiteSox.com to purchase your tickets today. Mike Pelfrey to Matt Olson. Then Jed Lowry and Chris Davis here in the third for Oakland. And a breaking ball for strike one from Pelfrey, who has been going so smoothly for the Sox on the mound. I mean, you look at his last 7 games, his last 6 starts, he's allowed no more than 2 earned runs in any of them.
Well, he moves the ball around. Gone are the days where he had that big fastball, like when he was signed by the New York Mets. And now he's had to adjust. He's had to learn how to deal with the stuff that he has. You're going to pitch in the major leagues. It's a game of attrition, and nature will take things away from you, and with that you have to add things. With Pelfrey, he decided to throw some slow breaking balls, and it's worked very well for him. He's got to move the ball in and out, and he also has to move it up and down. Former #1 draft pick of the Mets.
I was looking earlier before the game, and there was a season, it was his 3rd season in the majors with the Mets. He was 81% fastball. 81%.
He was overpowering. I mean, when you're young and your arm is feeling pretty good and you are a first-round draft pick, normally you've got a big fastball, and he's a very big man who had a terrific fastball. But if you're going to stay in this league any length of time, nature will take things away from you, and with that you have to adjust. And the adjustment has been for Mike, throw off-speed breaking balls, use his fastball, but more of a show-me pitch.
Breaking ball missed the corner. Now 3-2 for Olson. He's thrown that curveball more this year than any other year, and it's not close.
Well, he's also taken a lot more often than in any other year, and that's been one of the keys to keep hitters off balance.
3 balls and 2 strikes. It remains. Oh, look at that cute fan.
Can you get that at concession stands?
I don't know, but that's fan of the game material, don't you think?
I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Our crew certainly thinks so. You can vote on Twitter during the game, a hashtag fan of the game. We'll give you all the options at the end of the game, and we'll see if our defending champion from Toronto remains in the top spot. The Brides from Toronto have won back-to-back games now.
Wow, very popular. As Brides from Toronto normally are.
I think that's an Anne Rice novel, actually, The Brides of Toronto. 3-2, and that ball is hammered down the right field side and foul from Olson.
Well, if there's any doubt or wonder if Olson has some power, it's probably put to rest with that blast. Fortunately, he was out in front of it, and it was well fouled, but it was hammered.
37 home runs in 2014. It was in the California League where the ball tends to jump, but 37 is still a big number. That's a pop-up back of home. Kevin Smith for out #1 here in the 3rd.
With Olson's hands out as far as they are, he's going to see a lot of fastballs in to see if he can catch up with it. And if he can, well, then the league is going to have to adjust. But you see how wide his hands are? He's got to bring them back in. And normally when you do that, you're bringing your hands back in. It's tough to really get around on good fastballs. So he's a very young hitter. See how he develops.
1 down for Lowry. And this is a very specific group, but is there somebody you can think of who had that much movement going back that still was very good at catching up to the fastball?
Well, the irony of that is you can put your hands anywhere, but it depends on where your hands wind up as the ball comes to the hitting zone. So even if your hands are as extended as Olson's were, he still brings them back in. You can't hit with your hands out there if you leave them out there. You got to bring them back in sometime.
1-2 for Lowry, who walked and scored in the first inning. Chris Davis, a 2-run home run, and that has given the A's the 2-0 lead early on. A beautiful night at the ballpark. It is country music night. The three amigos are here.
Good looking cowboy hats.
On some.
Yes,
I found out
it
earlier.
was a unique look for you, granted. One that I do believe that if you did that a lot more, you would adjust to it and you would still look awful.
It's probably the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Well, but that's, that's something. This isn't your style, though.
Inside, nearly hit Lowry. I shudder to ask what my style is according to you, and so I won't.
I'm not sure exactly, but I know it's not the cowboy hat.
Well, thanks for your chiming in. Lowry checking himself to make sure that he's unscathed after that ball went buzzing by.
Normally, that fastball that chases you off the plate is a precursor to an off-speed pitch, and we'll see if this is indeed one of those, and it appears that it is.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Lowry looking out at Pelfrey as if to say, wait a second. You threw me one fastball at 2-2. He expected another one and didn't get it. As that ball just dives down and in, disappears. Lowry goes down on strikes. That looked like a splitter.
That's a pitch that Pelfrey added about 4 or 5 years into his major league career.
And that's, again, that's the progression of a pitcher losing the big fastball and then having to adjust. It is a game of adjustment, and if you don't, as nature takes something away, you have to add some things. And with Mike Pelfrey, the splitter, the slow curve, makes up for the fact that he does not have an overwhelming fastball any longer. He did at one point. You don't get drafted in the first round as a very large pitcher as he is without having that big fastball, which he did.
There's a fastball for Davis at 93, 1-2. There are some guys who, when the fastball goes away, it drops to 88, 89. Pelfrey does still have a little life on it. I mean, if this were another era, he would look like one of the hardest throwing guys out there at 93.
93 with movement is good. 93 movement straight. You better have some other things to go with it.
And time called. I'm not trying to compare Mike Pelfrey to Randy Johnson, but there were eras where 93 would be in the upper tiers of what people threw.
When he signed, he was one of the hardest throwers around. But this is a game of attrition, especially for pitchers. Nature will continue to take things away from you, and the guys who stay around are the guys who continue to add things to their repertoire. And that slow curveball is one of them.
2-2. On the ground and past the shift. Davis is 2 for 2 in the game.
It was an interesting dive for Yeoman. Only because he wasn't all that close to it and decided to dive. This ball is almost in the outfield by the time Heber does dive. So it looked like more of a fall than a dive, but it wasn't effective in either case.
Jose playing host over at first.
Welcome to the ballpark. You're 2 for 2. I'm not talking to you anymore.
Please go away. Check over there with Yonder Alonso at the plate.
Davis 2 out of 2 in stolen bases, and they don't have a lot of runners. Rajay Davis, one of them, is not in the lineup. He swiped 9 the entire team, but the 22 we told you about.
Yeah, the Davises have half of the stolen bases. As that ball's grounded to first, and Abreu plucks it for out number 3. So Davis stranded, and the Sox still trail by just 2. 2-0 after 2.5. numbers retired this weekend. Relive Mark Buehrle's greatest moments on the mound. Watch his no-hitter tonight at 11 p.m. and his perfect game tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. before live coverage of his jersey retirement ceremony. What a day it's going to be here at the ballpark. I want to know your favorite Mark Buehrle memory.
I was not working for the Sox yet, and I came to a ball game that he pitched, and it was against Ryan Franklin and the Seattle Mariners. And I believe it was just under an hour 40 minutes for a complete game. And so I'm sitting there watching the game. The game is just moving along. You really don't have a sense how quickly it's moving along, but I saw a family of 4 coming in the row in front of me. And they got there, and it was the 6th inning. But it was about 45 minutes or so into the game, and I just said to the guy, I said, really, the 6th inning? Mark Buehrle's on the mound, usually works really quickly, and he just pointed to his wife as if she was the reason. Anyway, at less than an hour and 40 for the complete game, he was able to see about 2.5 innings before it was time for him to depart. And I thought, as Mark pitched that one against Ryan Franklin, it was a phenomenal performance, but as you know, he worked really quickly, and it was a lesson to all in the era that Mark pitched. Get there early if you're watching the Mark Buehrle game.
If that doesn't typify what Buehrle did on the mound and what he's remembered for, it's I don't know what does, because here is a look at it, and don't blink because it happened fast. 139.
That was, for me, 139. Usually it was entering the 4th or 5th inning. For Mark Buehrle, it was a complete game. He just got it and threw it. Ryan Franklin was almost as good, but he made the big mistake of giving up 1 run and lost that ball game.
If you folks didn't get to see it online today, Mark Buehrle on the website, the Players Tribune, wrote in his own words why being a member of the White Sox and what playing in Chicago meant to him. And there were just a couple of very typical things that he said, just in the type of guy he was. One quote is, "The maintenance guys especially were the best. I'd always run down to their work shed and bang on the door as loud as I could. Then they'd come out and yell at me for it and tell me my last start wasn't very good, or they didn't understand why the team was even keeping me around." I've cleaned that up for television a little bit.
Well,
but there's the crux of it.
He was a 38th round draft pick, and I remember talking to his father, who was a delightful man, and he said, we're talking about Mark's career, and I said, you know, did he do what you expected him to do? And he goes, no. He said, I was hoping he would stick as a long reliever, maybe pick up a year or 2, whatever the case may be, but he was drafted in the 38th round, so you don't think much about the length of his career. Well, he surpassed a lot of people's expectations and became just a wonderful starting pitcher. One of those guys that got the ball through it. Everybody loved to play behind him, and he was just so good. You went over 200 games in the major leagues, you're getting it done. And Mark Buehrle could get it done, and he could get it done quickly, which endeared him to just about everybody.
And the type of guy he was.
Terrific.
Made it really easy to enjoy him. There's a ground ball to third. Healy at the line decides to go to first, and Nip Smith for out number 1. It's going to be great to watch Mark Buehrle. And the problem is they've got like about an hour allotted for the ceremony. And you don't feel like he's going to use up all that time, right?
No, as far as the speaker is concerned.
Oh, yeah.
No, he was normally in about the 6th inning at that point.
Right.
So for him, he's not and never was one to toot his own horn. It'll be interesting to see how he handles this tomorrow.
Well, and another piece from that article he wrote today, this quote is basically the crux of what Mark Buehrle is to Chicago and Sox fans and why he was just so likable. He says, it still kind of feels to me like maybe someone made a mistake or something, like they sent the invite for the ceremony to the wrong person.
Well, a delightful guy that was one of the most popular White Sox players ever with the fans, teammates, everybody that came in contact with him, because When he signed his 38th round draft pick, he remained the same guy as he became a major league star. And make no mistake about it, he was a star. So to keep everything in perspective, to know where you came from, to never lose that, that is the essence of Mark Burley. And that's one of the reasons why he was so popular with everybody who came in contact with him.
5-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove winner. And you look at the 38th round draft picks in the whole decade. I mean, he's the outlier in so many ways. He's the unexpected guy in so many ways. And our coverage tomorrow starts at noon. You want to join us for all of it, because it is going to be a very emotional night for a lot of people. Anybody who grew up in that generation of Burley and those guys that came through that won the title in 2005, it's all going to come flooding back tomorrow.
You also had one of your premier starting pitchers of that team actually pitch in relief in the World Series. So a wonderful guy with great skills, and got every ounce of his talent out of himself, which is something a lot of guys don't do.
Breaking ball for Engel, and strike 3. Nice pitch from Cotton for his second strikeout, both looking.
He saw a slider the first pitch, and there's the hook. And it's a good one. It freezes him, and anytime you see the knees buckle, you know a hitter hasn't been able to read it. And, you know, Engel is seeing just about everybody for the first time. And so for him, very much to the pitcher's advantage early. Now next time we'll see how he handles what he saw the first time up from Cotton.
Here's Melky. Sanchez at second, and a breaking ball does get in there for a strike from Cotton.
Outfield straight away, as is the infield for Melky, who does spray the ball all over. Hit the ball hard the first time up, but hit it right at Pinder at short.
Fastball away, 1 ball, 1 strike to Melky, who's got a hit in 13 of his last 15 games. As consistent as anybody, and Ricky Renneria likes to use the phrase professional hitter for Melky Cabrera.
He is that, always has been.
That's kind of like the term baseball guy, right? Like you get in baseball, you're a baseball guy, but there are people who are more baseball guy. I mean, Melky was a professional hitter the first time he signed the contract, but what you're trying to say is he's steady, he's smart, right?
Almost a .290 lifetime batting average.
Sanchez had third base stolen.
Cotton didn't pay attention to him at second. But Melky saw the pitch out over the plate. Cotton only looked one time, and when he did that, Yomer decided to take off. He had it stolen easily, but with 1 strike already in the count, you can't ask a hitter to take another pitch.
They're the career numbers for Melky.
285. High total.
Sox so far tonight, only 1 hit. That was a Davidson bloop single in the second. Sanchez walked to lead off this inning and got to second on the Kevin Smith ground ball. 25-year-old Jarrell Cotton on 2-2. In the air left side. Joyce is in, and Joyce is there for out number 3. Sanchez stranded, still 2-0 Oakland. But we asked you in spring training that if you wanted to, you could send in some prizes for the prize shelf. Somebody has done so, Steve.
They have. They sent a bobblehead of Dwayne Kuiper, who hit the only home run of his career off me. And so I didn't have a chance to do this, but here it is. You get to win this, and then you can bash him around the head and ears yourself.
I hope one of your family members or friends wins it, just throws it on the ground.
Actually, Dwayne, not only a really good guy, but a wonderful broadcaster for the San Francisco Giants. Had a great career. I thought he had a lot of power. I thought, in fact, it was deceiving how much power he really had.
Here's what else you could win, but you really want the bobblehead doll. I mean, we've got the southpaw and the golf balls and a Mark Burley pin, which is a pretty good prize.
And that's a birthday southpaw replica, whatever it is. It's happy birthday. 13th birthday, by the way.
Southpaw's 13th coming up.
Yeah.
Frazier backing up at third has the out. One down. You can win a prize if you play Sox Math, which is right here. Hashtag Sox Math. First correct answer wins a prize off the prize shelf. Sox hits yesterday divided by Sox runs yesterday. Minus Adam Engel hits yesterday. Plus the jersey number that's going to be retired tomorrow. Jay Reeses was monkeying around on Sunday and got the victory. And now
I have that splitting headache.
Is that Dwayne Kuiper? Did he sneak up on you and
he did
hit you over the head? I believe Dwayne's brother is still producing for Oakland, right?
He's the broadcaster. He's the play-by-play man.
Pardon me.
And one is producing
right,
also.
It produces for the Giants.
Yes.
I flipped those. That is outside to Pinder. The Kuiper family is going to be here in full force one way or the other this season.
They are extreme media folks, and Dwayne was a very powerful second baseman.
All one home run. And there's a strike.
There's Glenn, the Kuiper brother, who broadcast on the east side of the Bay, and there's Ray Fosse, one of the great guys in baseball, terrific catcher. Been a very good broadcaster for a long time, and his nickname was the Mule. He is an astonishingly strong guy. You shake his hand and you go right to the emergency room.
Is that true?
Yeah, he's really strong.
Two and two. And that runs over the corner for strike three. Two down. While we have a moment, let's just do a flashback here real fast. We love baseball history. We're historians on this telecast.
Oh my God, the power just went out. You can see they were really packing them in at Cleveland then.
What is that wall made of? Plastic wrap? Dwayne Kuiper, touch them all.
This was very difficult for him because he had never done it before. A home run trot. And by the way, he never did it again.
He almost did against you.
He did. He came very close, like an inch away in Baltimore.
But the baseball gods were smiling upon you that day.
I was trying to have that tape destroyed, but apparently it's still able to be accessed.
It is
much
impervious.
to my delight. They hit 3 that first inning, by the way. 3 home runs.
Is that right?
Yep. Bruce Bochy, who was right under Babe Ruth for lifetime home runs, and Andre Thornton, former Cub first baseman, who was then playing for the Indians, had an inside-the-park home run. Hit by Ralph Garr in left field, which is somewhat surprising because Ralph caught just about everything.
Still 2 strikes on Maxwell. Yeah, there's more than one copy of that. We made sure of it. Can't find the only one because that doesn't exist.
Oh well, that certainly made Dwayne Kuiper a very happy man. He actually thought he was going to hit another one. He didn't.
kept him in the yard for the rest of his career.
Yep.
Way to go. Ball and 2 strikes. Pelfrey to Maxwell. Oakland's lead is based on a 2-run homer from Chris Davis in the first. Sox will have Abreu, Garcia, and Frazier coming up in the 4th. Pelfrey ready to throw pitch number 75 of a lengthy, pitch-wise, first 4 innings tonight. Third base side, foul territory, and on a play.
Mike is trying for his first 1-2-3 inning. Pretty high pitch total at this point.
That one came in at 64 miles an hour.
He can throw that anywhere from the low 60s, as you saw. He can throw it into the low 70s, but he chooses to take a whole lot off.
Just off the corner, ball 4, a 2-out walk to Maxwell. And we remind you that DeWalt is the official tools of the Chicago White Sox. DeWalt, guaranteed tough, offering total job site solutions. Third walk for Pelfrey. Brugman the batter. Nearly hit him, ball number 1. So Sox come in 32-39. That's 71 games deep. So at the end of this homestand, we will be at the halfway mark of this 2017 season. Called strike, 1-1.
Sox certainly trying to take advantage of what will be a very home-heavy rest of the season from here on out. And they played pretty well here at guaranteed rate. Hoping to continue that.
Off speed, down and out, 2-1 on Brugman. 3 guys over 30 in this lineup. Davis is 29, pushing 30, but Brugman's 25, Pinder and Healy are 25, Olson's 23 years old, as the A's have an influx of young talent that will very likely be here through the course of this season to see what they've got in the tank. Into right field, and Avi Garcia. That is all she wrote for Oakland in the 4th inning. Sox will come up with Abreu, Garcia, and Frazier after this timeout.
Changes to the roster this week. The Blackhawks head into the draft with some work to do. Luke and Layla host In the Loop. NHL Draft Recap Sunday at 10 on CSN or stream live at csnchicago.com/watchlive.
Our booth was overrun during the break by the Kuiper family.
We've got much too many Kuipers around, and that was Glenn who came in the booth wanting to know why I was besmirching his brother's bobblehead, or more to the point, why I was punching his brother's bobblehead.
That moat outside the booth doesn't seem to work to keep people out.
No, we're going to have to get either a lion or something else to make sure during the broadcast that no unseemly characters come in. Although Glenn is not unseemly. But there's plenty of Kuipers around. I better be careful.
Too many, actually, to start punching the bobblehead on television.
There it is.
Here's
Look.
a look.
Wow.
Notice I was pretty intent on
you were defending me. Way to go. Thanks.
Showing off the Kuiper swing. Thank you, Glenn.
Well, I told him that I thought he was using a corked bat for once, the only time in his career.
The bobblehead doll has a bat, a very small bat, and Glenn said, "Is that the size bat he used to homer off of you?"
Yes. Well, no. This one is being carefully kept away from the doll.
We're also carefully keeping you away from the doll. Alonso at first for out number 1. And here's your Sox math answer. See you for a beer as your winner. 18 Sox hits divided by 9 runs. That's 2 minus 4 Adamengo hits. -2 plus Burley's 56. The answer is 54. See you for a beer. And by the way, if you'd like to send a prize to the prize shelf, please do so. Guaranteed Rate Field, care of Prize Shelf, 333 West 35th, Chicago, Illinois, 60616. The Kuiper bobblehead came from some fans of ours.
Yes, they did. It was Jim and Jimmy Mock.
I think so.
I believe that's it.
When are you coming back?
And they sent it to, well, from Arizona. So very nice. Terrible pun. And here it is. So thank you, and you can send anything that is not Kuiper related to the ballpark. We will gladly put it on the shelf, and somebody, some very lucky fan, will win it.
Well, that's the cool thing about it, is you're essentially, as Avi Garcia drives this ball to right field, but playable. Olsen is there for out number 2. You're essentially giving the gift of your Sox collection to somebody else, and that's what happened during the last homestand. The Carlton Fisk card, which got sent in by Billy Vanderbilt, ended up going to another fan who won it during the last homestand.
Meantime, Cotton is throwing the ball very well. Just one hit, that by Davidson, and that was a blooper that probably should have been caught but wasn't.
Ball number 1 to Todd Frazier, who struck out looking in the second inning on a pitch that he didn't like very much. In fact, strike 2 was one that he wasn't in favor of either. Breaking ball, strike from Cotton.
Well, Cotton has gotten that slow curve over the plate pretty consistently. Had a brief trial last year, 5 games, 2-0 record. He threw the ball well. One of the things that jumps out at you when you look at his career numbers, in his entire career, which started back in 2012, he only hit 2 men coming into this year.
Healy at third. We'll tell you why that's important coming back after the break. 1-2-3 inning for Jarrell Cotton. Will play the 5th after this. 2-0 Oakland. Our White Sox insider all season long. CSNChicago.com, presented by The Great Escape. Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Escape your everyday. Shop The Great Escape.
And during the lengthy rain delay, actually he had a chance, along with Dan, to get in depth in baseball. He did a really nice job. He was very well prepared, does a lot of research and a lot of work. And so we used just over a half an hour on the 4-hour and 50-minute rain delay. But Dan did great.
Should I be expecting the Dan Hayes, Steve Stone breakfast hour on the radio, or is that in the works?
No, but maybe he's got a chance to do some of those things along the way.
Off speed for a strike to Joyce, 2-1. That is a long rain delay, and it was the longest in Twins history at home, and certainly they had the Metrodome for a long time, so it didn't get terribly leaky for 5 hours.
No, but this is the 8th year in their new ballpark, and I knew once we had hit about the 2-hour mark that we were there for the duration. They wanted to get that game in.
And part of the reason being the Twins are backed up with doubleheaders. They have a couple already that have come from early rainouts.
And Turley, who lasted 2/3 of an inning, also got hit hard in his first major league start this year, so that matchup favored the Sox. The ace, Jose Quintana, against Nick Turley, and Turley got hit awfully hard.
I believe Turley was shipped out after the game.
Yeah, he couldn't get anything off speed over the plate, and guys really took advantage of it.
3-2 to Joyce. That's hit well right center field. Angle back at the wall, and Joyce has another Oakland home run.
That's the 9th of the year for Matt Joyce, and that's why they brought him in, to hit right-hand pitchers. And he's done a pretty nice job of it in the power department. Batting average, not much to speak of to this point, but that's what he can do. And our Ford home run replay, he got one out over the plate, and the ball is flying to right and right center field. So Oakland, which is a power hitting club, it's another one. For them, 101 home runs. They were good in Dalmatians and very good in home runs.
I'm actually glad I talked over you at that moment. They were tied for 12th in Major League Baseball coming into the day in terms of homers, 5th in doubles. So you look at the slugging percentage, top half of baseball. The on-base percentage isn't much to look at, but you see the American League team highs, and Oakland's right up there, hovering around that 4th place position.
They don't have the easiest ballpark to hit home runs in, but when you swipe just 22 bases, you better hit the ball out of the park.
Two 2-0 for Olson, former compensation pick in the first round out of the state of Georgia.
Marcus Semien, who is their #1 shortstop, is back on a rehab. He just started that, so he'll be back in the not too distant future. He had surgery on his wrist. They found a broken bone in spring training. He had pretty much lost a whole lot of power. They couldn't understand it. Then finally they took a look, and they found out why he had lost the power. Because of a broken bone in his wrist.
And his power numbers last year were very strong.
Where his improvement was last year was defensively. Ron Washington, who was their coach until he moved to Atlanta, a really good infield coach, and he did a whole lot to shore up the defense of Marcus Semien.
First base side of Abreu right at the line, feeds Pelfrey. Free t-shirt Thursday and Superhero Night collide on June 29th as the Sox take on the New York Yankees, 7:10 p.m. First 10,000 fans in attendance receive this Go Go White Sox t-shirt. Plus, don't miss your favorite superheroes roaming the concourse throughout the game. Buy your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com or calling 866-SOX-GAME. Who's your favorite superhero? The Got No Green Lantern?
No, don't pay retail man. He's been my favorite since as long as I can remember. That is one of the superheroes, isn't it?
What's his costume?
Well, you can pretty much wear anything. It's just he's not going to pay very much for it.
What's his horse's name?
His horse.
Every good superhero has to have a sidekick
Something?
or an animal that they travel with.
Yeah, not this one. He would never pay for a horse.
Ball and a strike on Lowry. Can't wait to see what you come up with as a costume for tomorrow.
Meantime, Jed Lowry is one of those guys that is certainly going to be available, and he's had a resurgent year. So swing the bat as well as he swung it.
Available for retail?
No, available for now. That's one of the things Oakland's not going to do.
On the ground, right side, Abreu waits for it and taps the bag for out number 2. We showed you our first fan of the game candidate earlier. You're going to get to vote later on in the game. This is fan of the game number 2.
You can't have too many hats. You've heard of guys wearing different hats, a lot of different hats. There's a man wearing 2 of them, and because it is very bright out, substantial sunglasses.
He's Da Vinci, a man of many hats.
He's got a lot of hats.
Two down for Davis. And there is ball number 1 to Chris Davis, who homered in the first, then singled to left in the third.
He hit 42 of them last year. This is one of the more powerful guys around. He doesn't make a lot of contact. When he does, it goes a long way.
He has done very well against Pelfrey in his career at 5 for 8 with a home run from tonight and 3 knocked in. Only 1 strikeout in the 8 at-bats. Which may not sound like a great number, but that's well below where he normally is for his career, as Pelfrey does get a strike, 2-1.
At the 100 pitch mark is Mike Pelfrey.
Staying away from Davis, 3-1.
And those 3 guys they've got 4, 5, and 6 with 19, 17, and 17 home runs. Let's take a look at StatCast, powered by AWS. In the first inning, he takes the ball out. 107 miles an hour, launch angle only 24.2 degrees, but projected 437 feet. So he hit it well. There's still a little left in the tank. He can hit him as far as anybody when he gets all of it.
3-2. Check swing, and he did not go. It's ball 4. Davis is on. And so Oakland has a 2-out base runner in every inning so far tonight.
Don Cooper coming out, and that's going to be the 4th walk, something that Mike really can't afford to do a great deal of, because he's not going to strike out a whole lot of hitters these days. So So with the bullpen up and going, Don Cooper is out there to take a little time to allow the pen to get ready. You see the line, a couple of home runs, the difference in this 3-0 game.
Pelfrey for the year with 2 out coming into this game, and those 2 out base runners in every inning have come with nobody on and 2 out. For the year, opponents were hitting 190 against him with 2 down, a 288 on base percentage, slugging below 400. So this is extremely rare for Pelfrey.
Yeah, all in all, I mean, if you're looking at Mike Pelfrey, as you should, probably as a number 4 or 5 starting pitcher, he's really had a pretty good run so far. But this is only the 2nd time where he's hit as many as 100 pitches in any performance. So Ricky Renteria allowing him to get out of this inning, but this one way or the other is going to be it.
The only other time he hit 100, he was at exactly 100, and that was the end of the line against the Angels.
One of the things he's done in this outing is floated a lot of those curveballs. He's not throwing them as consistently for strikes. When he's not doing that, he usually has some problems. So Abreu behind Davis at first base.
There he goes, and he's got second base stolen.
A little unusual to be behind Davis that far. He's now 3 for 3 in stolen bases, and they pretty much conceded the bag. And now they're going to concede the walk, and that's going to be it for Mike Pelfrey. So Beck will come in, Pelfrey will exit, and as he does, so will we. We'll be back.
In the outfield of Guaranteed Rate Field.
Yes, I have. Funny you should ask.
Okay. Meet 2017 White Sox team members and talk to White Sox alumni. Now is your chance. Join us this Sunday, June 25th for Picnic in the Park. All proceeds benefit White Sox charities. To purchase tickets, if you're as eager as Steve, visit whitesoxcharities.org.
It's going to be a delightful night. And our Hyundai call to the pen. A little earlier than Ricky Renteria would have liked, but it is Chris Beck on for the 25th time. He's starting to get just about everything over the plate. The ERA at 3.29. He's 1-0, and he inherits a couple of A's at first and second, and 2 outs here in the top of the 5th inning.
Big moment in this game, trying to keep close to Oakland. First pitch is off the plate, ball one. Ryan Healy, 8 home runs this month, 17 composite for the year. In the air, right field. Avi toward the corner, to the wall. Avi is there. Hello, wall.
Just an outstanding effort. And Avi saved 2 runs with that catch in the corner. No sooner does it hit the glove than he hits the wall. Just a terrific play. Good concentration, and he saves a pair.
Highlights from Yohan Moncada's night.
His thumb is 100% now.
Yeah. That is good news for the White Sox. Some good news to tell you about in our minor league report as well. A lot of roster moves after the split season. First half, second half. A-ball, advanced A, double A. Something like 25 roster moves after those all-star games. So some guys who helped Kannapolis do extremely well for itself in the first half have moved up to advanced A Winston-Salem. Ball and a strike on Matt Davidson, who has the lone hit so far tonight for the White Sox.
Jharel Cotton this year, this number is outstanding. Well hit average of .062 against Cotton on non-fastballs. That is 9th. Starting pitchers. And that would lead you to believe that between his slider and curveball, along with that straight change, nobody's making too much contact if they see anything but the Cotton fastball.
1-2, and a breaking ball upstairs. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Davidson.
That was a straight change, but he got under it. When you do that, the ball's going to stay well up, normally out of the zone, and he got a little bit lucky, because if that was hittable, that Davidson, the way he's swinging it, would have hit it hard.
Two and two. Well, Matt Davidson this season has trumpeted his presence very loudly with 17 home runs, the most on the team, 7 in the last 10 games. And it's not been all just to left field. He is not only a pull side home run hitter.
Now, he's got big power, especially to straightaway center. He can take it to right center, but huge power to straightaway center.
There is strike 3 and out number 1. We've seen a lot of Jarrell Cotton throwing the curveball for strike 1 so far tonight, and that is a little bit off his norm. Here's a pitch chart of what he throws. You see the fastball is in red, the four-seam fastball. Slider is in green. That little dot, that purple dot, is what he throws for a curveball in 0-0. He rarely throws it 1-0, and he'll throw it more 0-1, 0-2, as you might expect, but he typically does not throw as many first-pitch curveballs as we've seen so far tonight.
When you look at the numbers and the fact that you just don't see many hard hit balls on anything but his fastball, you would think that he would go and try to throw more of those off-speed pitches early.
Up and into Anderson. Cotton's retired 7 in a row. And this is a fair ball.
And Tim didn't run. Ricky Renteria is going to talk with Jim Wolf about it. And he's going to throw him out of the game. For what exactly?
Wow. That's the second very quick hook that Ricky Renteria.
Well, he wasn't arguing balls and strikes here. I mean, he just wanted him.
He wasn't even going to come out with any vicious intent. I don't even think Ricky thought that was going to be a foul ball.
Well, that's one of the quickest ejections that we've seen in a bit, and Ricky is really unhappy, as you would expect, because he barely had a chance to get out of the dugout.
Watch the way he came out of the dugout. He was almost going just to defend his guy.
That's exactly what he was trying to do. He's going to make sure that Anderson stayed in the game.
And I guess it was Anderson that got run the first time, and now Renteria gets run. So Tim gets the hook, and then Ricky gets the hook. Wow. I think we both thought it was Renteria the first time, but it's
right. I think that's. And take another look at it. I think Tim was saying the ball might have ticked his helmet. Didn't look like it there, however. The ball was in fair territory. So here comes Ricky. He wants to keep Anderson in the game, but apparently Tim was the guy that was thrown out for whatever he said. And
I don't know what Tim did. If that's the extent of it, what we just saw, if that's the extent of what Tim did, that's not worth an ejection.
Yep.
On the ground up the middle to shortstop, and Pinder can't handle it, so there's a runner on. And Sanchez going for second base. He is out. Well, that was a rather interesting sequence. The Sox are down a manager and a shortstop, and it looked at first blush as though it should be neither.
Well, I think Yomer wants him to take a look at it. He believes that he got in. That's what Joe McEwing is doing.
Our phone's not working, is what Joe just said. That's the perfect moment for this situation, huh?
Yomer believes that he's safe at second. We'll watch it here.
Tough to tell, but I think he was in, Steve.
Well, from that angle, you can't tell, but we'll probably have a better angle here. There's the flip, and that is not a better angle. You can't really tell from that angle either, but
Yomer has claimed second base in the name of Sanchez.
He's not leaving until they take a look at it, but with the phones not working, maybe you got to sprint into the locker room. But the umpires are going to take a look at it, and they're going to see. In the meantime, Cotton is throwing to stay loose on the mound. This has been a most interesting inning.
After this review, and now the umpires are watching the scoreboard in the stadium to maybe get a good angle at it, and it's very close.
Well, the question is, did he get him on the shoulder before the hand got in? And from that angle, it was pretty tough to tell. And again, because the call was out on the field, they have to have clear and convincing evidence to overturn.
Let's see what New York has to say about this. And with all of the uproar over the Sanchez play, we'll double back at some point on that ejection as well, because I'm kind of searching for what Tim Anderson did that was worth an ejection, and then Ricky Renteria coming out to argue for his guy. So we'll revisit that as well. But first, the question is Sanchez safe at second base? Joe McEwing is either on the phone with the replay room or the phone company, which would be terribly difficult.
Well, as he was out talking with Jim Wolf, Hermie was out there, and they're going to have the call stand, so inning over.
Lots to revisit when we come back. Sox are down a shortstop and a skipper. 3-0. Making some changes defensively because Tim Anderson was ejected after arguing this fair ball. It was the right call by the plate umpire Jim Wolf, but now watch what Tim says to the umpire. And he gets run right there. I mean, Tim did say something, but at some point you kind of need to let guys vent just a little bit, I would argue.
Well, we don't know exactly what he said, but Jim Wolf took exception to it. And then what Ricky was trying to do was keep Anderson in the game. And he just wants to know now why he was thrown out of the game, and apparently was not quite as satisfied with the answer.
There's a foul ball. Sanchez is into shortstop. Hansen at second base. Alan Hansen checks into the game, so Tim Anderson's birthday present is an ejection today.
And Hansen will hit in the spot vacated by Tim Anderson, as Yolmer will hit in Yolmer's spot.
Line drive center field. Adam Engel has it squared up very nicely for out number one.
That was Adam Rosales who took that at bat. And Joe McEwing going to the mound. He's going to go to the bullpen.
So Beck will be done after a couple of batters. Dan Jennings is ready to go, and the lefty will enter for the Sox in a 3-0 score.
The pen is Dan Jennings, who comes into this. He's been a very busy man. He's on for the 34th time. 2-1 ERA, 4.76. There you look at the numbers. And he's brought on to face the left-hand hitting Maxwell.
Who had reached base twice so far in the game against the right-hander Pelfrey. A single to left in the second and a walk in the fourth.
Chris Beck did a nice job, was only on for 2/3 of an inning, but got both of the men he was brought in to get.
Strike number 1 on Maxwell. Well, this Oakland bullpen, Steve, has a very lofty ERA. We're talking about an ERA right around the 6s for the year. So if there's a team that you might want to have in that you would be down against late in the game, Oakland is on the list. 2 down.
Very difficult to consistently build bullpens, and one of the things that they've tried to do is keep Doolittle healthy, because he's had some shoulder issues. When he's healthy, and he's been fairly healthy this year, he's been really good for Bob Melvin.
There is strike 1 from Jennings to Brugman, the center fielder. Should say the bullpen right now is right around the 5s, but they have struggled recently. Ball and a strike on Brugman.
The Sox certainly don't anticipate that Brugman is going to pull the ball, because there's a gigantic gap in right center field. With Engel playing around toward left center, fairly shallow for Brugman, who doesn't have a great deal of power.
A little bit low, 3 balls and a strike on Brugman. Sox in the 6th inning will bring up the 8, 9, and 1 hitters coming. Mike Pelfrey went 4 2/3 tonight. That's ball 4. 2-out walk, and the battery of left-handers continues with Joyce. Calling all Illini alums. Join us on Friday, July 14th, as the Sox take on the Mariners at 7:10 p.m. Purchase this specially priced ticket package for the opportunity to watch BP before gates open and to get a White Sox Illini hat. To purchase this specially priced ticket package, visit whitesox.com/Illini. Maybe Brad Underwood will be here.
Joe Groob's favorite night, by the way, Illini night.
Cat night is very close. Still in the works.
Joyce, who hit his 9th home run last inning. Usually doesn't face the left-handers.
This is the only one he will see out of the Sox bullpen. Jennings has been the lone lefty for the Sox.
Against a team leading 34th appearance out of the pen. When you're the lone left-hander, you're going to be brought in to get the other situational left-handers out, then usually give way, and that's what's happened. So a lot of performances, not a lot of innings for Jennings.
Second base, Alan Hansen to retire the side. Brugman stranded. Sox are looking for some runs. 3-0 after 5½.
Presented by Ozinga. And there for Jamison Fisher is a game-winning single. His first game with the dash. And that will endear you to your teammates. They are awfully happy. And if they don't injure Fisher, he's probably going to go on to have a good, solid performance. As Adam Rosales, who came out to pinch hit, stays in the game and plays shortstop. He is Chicago's own Adam Rosales.
He is. By the way, on Jamison Fisher, that was his first game, as you mentioned, after coming up from Single A Kannapolis, where they won the first half title in the South Atlantic League. And one of the things that Fisher said today in the pregame interview that the radio folks at the Dash did with him, he said, look, a lot of our guys have played together now for a couple of years. We won the first half at Great Falls last season, won the first half at Kannapolis this season, and there's this kind of feeling of guys growing up together from the lowest levels from that 2016 draft class.
Well, when you learn how to win together, now you've got something, because you're trying to build a lot of things when you have minor leaguers come into your organization. One of them certainly is to figure out how to play professional baseball. The other thing is to figure out how to play winning baseball. And that's what the White Sox are trying to do. And now they have a whole lot of talent in the minor leagues.
2-1. Smith, a rope. Leadoff single for Kevin Smith, who's now on a 6-game hit streak.
That was a slider. Cotton tried to get it out away, and Kevin hit it really hard. Taking it through the left side. And it looked like it was not a slider, but a straight change. Good way to start the 6th inning.
1 on, nobody out, and the 4-hit man from yesterday, Adam Engel, trying to help the Sox on the board here in inning number 6, and ball 1 starts him off.
And the second time looking at a guy that you've never seen before, now things start to even out. First time much to the advantage of the pitcher, and Cotton had been through the lineup the first time, giving up only 1 single. Yolmer had a base hit, but was taken off the bases to end last inning, and now Melvin coming to the mound. And this is not a good sign for Oakland. Anytime the trainer accompanies the manager to the mound, it's cause for concern. It looks like a blister or a laceration on his thumb, and that's going to make it so that he can't feel the baseball. And certainly, looking at it, at least they have to say, go in the locker room, we'll work on it, and you will fight another day, young man.
Well, 5+ innings and just 3 hits, all singles, 1 walk and 3 strikeouts, and the Sox will get him a helicopter to get out of here after a very nice performance for young Jarrell Cotton for Oakland. But he is done for the night, and Oakland's new pitcher, whomever it might be, is going to have as much time as he needs to get into this game. Sox are trailing by 3, but have something brewing against Oakland here in the 6th. Tickets as low as $5 in the upper level, $15 in the lower level, and parking for only $10 plus special kid-focused activities located throughout the ballpark. Family Sundays proudly presented by Coca-Cola. Visit whitesox.com/Sundays to purchase your tickets today.
Our Hyundai call to the pen is Liam Hendricks. At various times during his career, he's been a starting pitcher, but he's on for the 32nd time. 3-1. The record's good. The ERA a little higher than he would like at 4 1/4. 42 strikeouts, however, in 31 2/3. And after moving to the bullpen, he started to throw the ball a bit harder than he did when he was a starting pitcher, which is not unusual. And with a little sip of water, which is another thing you don't see very often for the pitcher coming in the game, bringing his own water with him.
You never did that, did you?
No, I did not.
That's a new type of spitball where you spit and then throw the ball.
Yeah, you just don't see guys bringing water in from the pen very often.
Time now for America's fastest growing sensation, where we quiz Steve Stone about his own career. Who was the last Oakland player to hit a home run off you? Cliff Johnson, Tony Armas, Jim Spencer.
Wow. Was it recent?
Yeah, it was within the last 5 years.
Okay, I'll say Cliff Johnson.
Why'd you say Cliff?
Because I had to say something and we were running out of time.
Oh no, we've got all the time in the world. Liam Hendricks is still warming up.
Yeah, so I would think it would be him, but then again, with a 33% chance, that's a 66 2/3% chance I was wrong.
That is true. Adam Engel, by the way, who is on deck, he just saw. You just got it out of your mouth that he was getting a chance to see a pitcher for the second time. And suddenly Cotton is yanked.
And then he doesn't. But Jarrell Cotton threw the ball very well. He gave up 3 singles. That was it. And was pretty much in command. He was getting most everything over the plate. He did have the one lone walk. That was to Yolmer leading off the 3rd inning. With country music night comes very, very good looking cowboy hats.
Why don't we, partner, take a look at your Sticks and Stone answer?
Sure.
For tonight, Cliff Johnson was your guess, and you were right. September 5th, 1981. Your last major league win. Ring-a-ding-ding.
Yeah, I can remember that year was not a particularly good one. Injury plagued, I believe. And so they will take the bottle of water off.
Yep. Not shockingly.
It's shocking that he came in with it, but.
By the way, you and Cliff Johnson have something in common. Do you know what that is? You both homered off of you?
No. I have no idea.
Well, Cliff Johnson, let me put it this way, and then you can choose to decide what you have in common with him. Cliff Johnson got into a clubhouse brawl with Goose Gossage.
Oh, that. I hope that Cliff did better than I.
Yeah, he hurt Goose.
And that wasn't good. That's not good for your livelihood with the ball club. I made sure that I didn't do that as he flipped me into one of the lockers, but it was during a rain delay, actually. And, you know, that's very timely because at 4 hours and 50 minutes, you can do a lot of things, including taking your starting pitcher and unceremoniously dumping him into a locker, as Goose did. I thought I was going to win that battle, but
he won on points?
He outweighed me by about 40 pounds or so. He was very strong. I got to pick my opponents more carefully.
So does Cliff, maybe.
Quite possibly. Goose was a very strong guy.
So Hendricks is in. Engel is the batter. Smith at first. 3-0 Oakland, and that is ball number 2 on Adam Engel.
And the unusual aspect of the scoring decision, if he does wind up walking Engel, it's going to be charged to Cotton.
Fouled away, and that caught both Maxwell and Jim Wolf. This is one of those moments where the Wolf would rather not be at the door.
That got him in the bicep, where they don't have a whole lot of padding. And we will eliminate the Wolves at the doors. And that is going to leave a mark on Jim Wolf.
Still working out the hand there. No matter what you think of the ejections earlier, you never want to see that happen to anybody behind the plate. That's a very exposed position for the umpire in back of home, and it is no fun to get hit there.
Jim's brother Randy, a major league pitcher for quite some time. Jim, a right-hander with a pretty good arm. He throws it pretty well back to the pitchers. His brother, a left-hander.
2-2 for Engel. A little bit high. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Hendricks came to the major leagues with Minnesota and actually was a starting pitcher the early portions of his career. When he started exclusively until Toronto made him a full-time reliever in 2015.
Chop foul. He's a 3-time waiver claim. Once by the Cubs, Hendricks. Once by the Orioles. And then once by the Blue Jays. And all of those were in the offseason before the 2014 year.
A lot of movement for the man that was born in Perth, Australia.
3-2. Angle in the air, center field. Brugman back on it. And there's out number 1. Smith retreats to first. And 1 away.
Adam hit that ball a long way, but unfortunately ran out of steam around the warning track. And there's a young man who's enjoying the concession stands.
That looks real good.
Well, the Sunday is melting a touch, but they're having quite a time of it.
Ice cream soup is one of the best types of soup.
It's pretty good. He's just one of the 25,370 in attendance tonight.
Tomorrow, by the way, you want to get here early. 12:15 is the ideal time to be in your seat for the Mark Buehrle retirement ceremony. This place is going to be jam-packed.
There are a few available standing room only seats. Other than that, nothing. As you would expect from one of the most popular players ever to don a White Sox uniform. And tomorrow will be a special afternoon.
We'll have Mark Buehrle up in the booth. I believe his son's going to sing the national anthem before the game. That'll be neat. Oh, 2. Melky lashes it foul.
In the mid-90s is where the fastball sits for Liam Hendricks these days, which is considerably harder than he threw when he was a starting pitcher. That's usually what happens to guys who have not been injured but move from the starting rotation to the bullpen. You know, you're not facing guys too many times, so whatever you have, you're going to show it to them.
Oh, 2 for Melky. Smith at first, and there's strike 3. He went up high with a fastball. 2 down.
They're doing more of this now than maybe ever before, and that is that face-high fastball up and out of the strike zone. We used to call it higher than high, and it works very well. When you're ahead of the hitter, you show them that fastball, they can see it all the way, but you just can't catch up to it upstairs.
Well, here's Jose Abreu, who's still in search of his first home run of the year.
Had he had any elevation at all in the first inning, probably would have seen it then. The line drive rocket right at Olsen in right field. He hit it hard enough, just not high enough.
He is the first player in Sox history to hit his first 13 home runs on the road, breaking Wimpy's record.
Really pretty amazing for a guy as talented as Jose Abreu not to have a home run in this, the 28th game in this ballpark.
In this specific ballpark. Yeah. This is a hitter's park.
All the way around. Left to right. The ball flies out of here for everybody but Jose to this point.
2 strikes. Smoke foul. Well, the good news is he's tied for second in the majors in road home runs.
hitting his 13th in Minnesota.
Liam Hendricks has come in and settled things down for Oakland after a leadoff single from Smith in the inning. He gets strike 3 on Abreu. Maxwell to first. And that'll do it for the White Sox. 3-0 Oakland to the 7th we go.
Elite group of White Sox legends as his number is retired with the greats. Live ceremony coverage begins at noon on CSN and live stream on the NBC Sports app or at csnchicago.com. So growing up and watching Mark Burley for your favorite team, the Sox, what was your indelible memory of him?
Well, I really wanted to pick draft day, right? Because the 38th round is so wild. But this save against the Houston Astros in the 14th inning says Mark Burley to me. You see the smile, and anytime, anywhere, whenever you need me, whatever, I'm going to be in the middle of it. And he was there. And frankly, the story that goes along with it makes it even better. Because he finally fessed up in that thing that he wrote today for the Players Tribune on what he did before he came out to pitch that day.
That was extreme preparation for that particular 14th inning affair.
He said, this is in Mark Burley's own words, the thing a lot of people talk about with that one is the rumor that I drank a few beers before I got the save in our Game 3 victory. There's been some stuff that's come out on that topic, but I feel like you all should really hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So here goes. In short, yeah, sure, okay, fine. So I had a few. I can admit to that.
Right from the Clydesdale's mouth?
That's right from, he says, but you got to let me explain. No one would have imagined that I was going to be pitching. And he says, and it was just like one or two. Every time I grabbed one, I'd go over and check in with the coaches. Hey, you guys are sure you're not going to need me, right? He says, no, Mark, you're not pitching today. You just went. So I'd hear that and grab one. It was only like 3 max. Definitely no more than 3, though, I swear, says Mark Burley. Anyway, of course, the game had to go 14 innings, right? His own words that he wrote today on the Players Tribune, the website, and we're going to talk to him about this, among other things. We could talk to him for 9 innings tomorrow. We're going to have him likely in the top of the 3rd. But, I mean, he says, and this is the line that I think makes it my favorite moment for Burley, as Abreu handles that one for on number 1. No one gives me any grief about it because first and foremost, sports fans in Chicago care about winning, and we brought home the trophy. But also, I think part of it is that it has to do with the fact that people there really love their beer.
Well, he's right about both of those things.
But you know,
he never he wasn't a closer. So you know, you take a guy who's pretty much a lifetime starter with stuff that's not exactly closer stuff. never anticipating, because he had just worked, that he was going to work again.
But that's what I love about this. It's the era of social media, right before the era of social media, 2005, a couple years prior to that. But there's a crush of media. Everybody knows everything that's going on, and it is so real and so human. And I'm sure you had stories in the minors of things going haywire and maybe something you shouldn't have done here and there. It's so normal and it's so real and it's so the core of this guy who belongs in a White Sox jersey that I just think it's got to be your favorite moment, especially when attached to that story, which he's never really told until today. There were so many rumors about it, but I mean, it's a great story.
That win, capped off by 14th inning save by Mark Burley, put them one win away from doing something that hadn't been done since, what, 1917 was it? So you can see a sense of relief, some very happy players, and then one game later, that was it. The trophy and a World Series win for the Sox in 2005.
Just an unforgettable season, and everybody attached to it will be in our hearts for a long, long time. Strike three, 2 down, and let's hear from Mark Burley about his favorite memories. He talked to some folks earlier today.
It's the World Series. Obviously, I've had a lot of games and accomplished a lot in this game that I never thought I would do. But obviously, win the World Series, that's the ultimate goal. That's why you put the uniform on and go out there. So I'd say Game 4, after clinching and going out there and just realizing that we were the last team standing and would bring in a championship back to Chicago.
There you have it.
Yeah, just some wonderful memories, and a guy that will live in the hearts of White Sox fans forever. I mean, yes, they are retiring the number. It wouldn't matter. He would still have the same place in the pantheon of Sox history. It couldn't happen to a nicer man, because he's one of the nicest guys around.
You know, retiring number 56, as you think about it, hurts minor leaguers on the way up more than anybody. I mean, he kept the number for his entire career. He got handed it in spring training. You don't get number 6 if you're the new guy in spring training. So just another symbol of exactly what Mark Burley meant to this city and this organization.
And again, if you are coming to the game tomorrow, get here early. Try to be in your seats by 12:15 so you can see every bit of the pregame ceremonies.
Our coverage starts at noon over CSN right here, and parking lots are opening early, gates are opening early, so be here, enjoy it, bring your friends, and reminisce about old number 56. But we'll have the entire thing here on CSN. If you by chance didn't get a ticket or couldn't get in, we will be here for you. 2-2. By the way, told you Adam Rosales checked in for Oakland, just to explain why. Rosales is in for Pinder, who left the game with a hamstring strain. It's his left hamstring, and there Davis is left in the dust. 1-2-3 inning for Dan Jennings. Stretch time. 3-0.
For the American Sale Fan Cam, bring the fun home.
Pizza and hats. Where? There. I gotta be honest, I think those hats look better on just about everybody besides us.
Ryan Madsen comes in the game on for the 31st time. The record not good. Save and opportunities not good, but the ERA 2.54, that is good.
That is.
I think you should look into wearing that much more often. Like never again.
I think you're right. I think you could pull it off. You have a little Jack Palance in you.
Yeah.
I don't.
Just a little.
30 saves last year for Madsen, and he has been very tough on righties this year at 186 for right-handers, and he's got 3 of them coming up. Sox are looking for their first extra base hit of the night. 3 hits, all singles. To left field. Second straight inning with a leadoff single for the Sox.
You get a rolling breaking ball that didn't do a whole lot and took it into left field. Madsen missed 3 full years with arm problems and came back in 2015 with Kansas City. A 2.13 ERA in 68 games. He came back with a vengeance. Made his way to Oakland last year. A lot of decisions for a reliever. 6 and 7 in 63 appearances. So the last couple of years after coming back from all of the arm problems, he's been a very durable pitcher.
Todd on the ground at third. Healy, Lowry, double play. Second double play turned by Oakland tonight.
Todd hits it pretty well, but unfortunately hits it right at Healy. Good. Lowry makes a really smooth pivot at second base. It's pretty easy because there's no way on a ball hit that hard that Avi can get close to him.
Two out, bases empty. And Matt Davidson is 1 for 2 with a bloop single. Strike 1. Oakland came in having lost 4 in a row, all to Houston, which entered play tonight at 50 and 24. Best American League mark through 74 games since the 2005 White Sox.
Houston coming into play tonight won 4 games in a row, and the most amazing part of the Astros this year, on the road 27 and 8. Just a remarkable run away from Minute Maid Park.
On the ground, base hit. 2 strikes single for Davidson with 2 down, bringing up Alan Hansen.
Looked like a breaking ball that he took right back up the middle. Salas does not have the greatest range at this point. That ball got by him. So the inning stays alive. And Alan Hansen getting his first at bat of the night. If you missed it earlier, Tim Anderson was ejected from the game, followed very closely by Ricky Renteria.
First pitch hunting, Hansen to left field, and Joyce. For the final out of the 7th inning, 2 hits, nothing to show for it. We have played 7, 3-0 Oakland.
No-fee loan now at eclicklending.com. eClick is located in Chicagoland and is rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. eClick Lending. Boom! Ooh, excuse me. I think I hurt myself. Your mortgage just happened.
Steve's vocal cords have torn in 3. They'll be offered on the prize shelf throughout the homestand.
Dan Jennings with an extended outing. Figure he would face Alonso and then give way to the bullpen.
Healy to follow is a right-hander. Yonder Alonso intentionally walked after 3 pitches in the 5th, and he grounds back to Jennings. Dan's got it, and 1 down.
And here comes Joe McEwing, and that will be it for Dan Jennings, who threw very well out of the pen tonight.
2 innings of no-hit ball for Dan Jennings this evening. He gives it up to Anthony Swarzak. 3-0 Oakland, your score. Swarzak is in after this.
The pen is Anthony Swarzak. So after fine performances from Beck and Jennings, Swarzak comes on for the 29th time. He's 3-2, ERA an even 3. There you look at some very impressive numbers. Left-handers have done nothing with him.
Let's take a trip around Major League Baseball, and I believe we are going out west today.
That goes for the ball.
Watch this catch. Or not catch, but hang on to the kid. He did catch the ball. He kind of held on to the kid, but Mom wasn't too happy.
He said next time you might want to think about protecting your offspring and letting the ball go.
That's what we call a face palm in the current lexicon. She went right to the head.
Yeah, I would think that it wasn't a pleasant trip home for that guy.
Well, the walk's very nice from Dodger Stadium. It's probably not going to end up on many parenting videos. That's more of how you would hang on to your kid.
Yes, with entertainment from an empty Coke bottle, and say, here, I'll watch the game and you play with this, little person.
Give these to the boys in lieu of pay. You had that as a kid, though, right? Just about anything could be a toy.
Sure. Up until a couple of years ago.
2-1 from Swarzak to Ryan Healy. Up the middle through. First hit for Healy today. He is a one-out single. Hey, vote today, vote tomorrow, vote Avi and Abreu for your 2017 White Sox All-Stars with the Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Vote at whitesox.com/vote and catch all the excitement of the 88th MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 11th live on Fox. And I would add to Avi and Abreu, Tommy Kahnle. I know he's an 8th inning guy. I get it.
Oh, it's been a wonderful year for him. He's just been a terrific pitcher all season long.
Rosales, the batter, Maine South's finest. There is strike number 1. It would be a very tough argument considering the relief pitchers in the American League. When you talk about somebody who's come in just about every situation and the way he's transformed himself, he deserves some recognition for it, Tommy Cannon.
Just a remarkable season, and hopefully he can keep it up all year.
There's Tommy. Every pitcher tonight has a water bottle, evidently.
Along with country music night, it is water bottle night. Bringing in the game with you. Mark Salas talking it over with him. He is a man who has caught a lot of pitchers in that Sox pen over the years.
Country music night and water bottle night getting together on this Friday evening here in Chicago. Take a picture. It's a good little dance move.
That's the latest craze, is seat dancing.
Was that right?
Very nice. Oh yeah.
Is that like chair yoga?
It's sweeping the nation.
Are you enrolled in a class? A seat
Not
dancing
yet.
class?
Getting up there.
Two and one on Rosales. Up high.
Adam's been in the major leagues for quite some time, and every year and a half or so he finds his way back to play for Oakland. Done that a few times.
Tipped foul, 3-2 on Rosales. In for Chad Pinder, who's out with a left hamstring strain.
Their number 1 shortstop, Marcus Semien, former White Sox shortstop, is just beginning his rehab. And as soon as that's over, the man who hit 27 home runs last year, tying him for the most home runs by a shortstop in the major leagues with Trevor Story, he's going to be back.
There's strike 3, 2 down here in the 8th inning.
One of the losses for this Oakland team from last year to this is Ron Washington, who was a terrific coach, managed Texas during the course of his career, but he really was a great infield instructor, and he really helped Marcus Semien quite a bit, cutting the errors he made by about 40%. And he went on to Atlanta. He's been a very good coach his entire career.
You saw the A's bench. Chip Hale is the acting bench coach. Mark Kotsay is away from the team dealing with a family emergency.
Because unfortunately, he's got a young daughter who was hit in the eye with a tennis ball, and she's experienced some problems, so he went back to help them resolve that with the family first and foremost. And Mark, who had done a nice job as a bench coach for Bob Melvin, is going to take as much time as he needs to make sure that his young daughter is okay, and to provide whatever he can for her.
Our thoughts with the Kotsay family. Very difficult time. There is a strike, so 1-2 on Maxwell, who singled in the 2nd, walked in the 4th, and bounced out to shortstop in the 6th. Sox in the 8th will have Sanchez, Smith, and Engel coming up. Then after that, the top of the order. On the corner, strike 3. Swarzak strikes a pair out and hands it back to the offense. Still a 3-run game. New pitcher for Oakland coming into the ball game in a 3-0 score.
It's Sean Doolittle, who at various times in his career has been the closer of this team. He's been entrusted to try to nail it down 4 times, been successful 3 of them. He's had some shoulder issues. That's really been the one thing that stopped him, because he throws the ball very well when healthy. And he seems to be healthy now. That ERA is more than respectable.
Drafted 7 picks after Todd Frazier in 2007's first round. Sean Doolittle faces Yolmer Sanchez and fires in a strike at 95. Yolmer was thrown out at second after that single. He was trying to stretch it to 2. And 2 strikes.
Most unusual setup. The glove under the beard.
Glasses versus glasses. Doolittle wins for strike 3, 1 away here in the 8th. First 25,000 fans at each game receive a Merck's cheese spread game card. Good for savings on delicious Merck's cheese in the deli or dairy case at your local grocer. Watching the White Sox and saving on Merck's cheese. Some fans have all the luck. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com or calling 866-SOX-GAME.
For Doolittle, that's his 19th strikeout in 12 innings.
And this is a ground out to Lowry, 2 away.
And one of the things that makes him as effective as he is not only good stuff, which he has, but a lot of deception, which he also has. The hitters just don't pick up the baseball near as soon as they would like to against him. He's been that way since he's come in the league. When his shoulder is healthy, he's a very potent weapon out of the bullpen.
Left-hander out of the University of Virginia facing the Louisville center fielder Adam Engel. His team, a rough go of it in Omaha, but they did make it under Dan McDonnell this year as Engel goes down a strike with all 5 pitches so far from Doolittle strikes.
Well, he figured out that in changing his arm angle, he's got more movement. And you can tell with the swings that the Sox are getting against him, they're not picking up the baseball near as early as they would like.
Oh, and 2 fouled away.
When you can get it up there 95-96 with deception, you're going to be very successful. He's dropped the arm angle. That's gotten him a little more movement. Got a tendency to throw straight over the top, and it explodes on the hitters.
All strikes from Doolittle in the inning. 8 pitches, all strikes, 1, 2, 3, and we go to the 9th.
Fire look to stay undefeated at home as they take on Orlando City. Coverage begins at 7 with Chicago Fire pregame live, and you can watch in Spanish on CSN Plus. We got a new pitcher coming in the ball game for the 9th time out of the bullpen to go with his 5 starts. David Holmberg with a 1-1 record and ERA just under 3. He's been in the rotation for those 5 starts.
And one piece of the rotation the Sox have not had all year, Carlos Rodon, started tonight for AAA Charlotte. He went 4 1/3, gave up 5 hits, 7 earned runs, but generally as you close toward a final start or 2 in your minor league rehab assignment, you're looking at pitch total, and Carlos threw 91 pitches in the game tonight.
Well, the last outing for James Shields in the minor leagues was 90 pitches. That's what you're looking at. If you can get to 90 pitches anywhere, you're pretty much ready to go. And we don't know exactly when it's going to be from Carlos, but it's going to be a happy day for him and the ball club when he gets back up here to the major league team. Been a very frustrating year for him. Started out not knowing the extent of the injury coming out of spring training, and I think he's been shelved a bit longer than he thought, and certainly longer than the team had wanted, but he's so young and so talented, they're not going to take any chances.
Hansen, nicely done for out number 1 here in the 9th.
It was a good play by Alan Hansen going to his left. It took an unusual hop at the end. He stayed right with it. This is a hard hit ball. Came up on him, but after juggling it, he corralled it and got it across in plenty of time.
One down for Joyce, whose homer in the 5th is the most recent run in this game. 2 2 homers for Oakland, the only scoring so far tonight. Chris Davis, a 2-out homer in the first. Joyce, the leadoff home run in the 5th.
It's not been an offensive extravaganza for either team. There's only 10 hits combined. And they're split evenly at 5-5.
There's a hook for strike 2 from Holmberg.
Davis' work out of the bullpen got him the opportunity to start. He was very good out of the pen.
Tap to first. Abreu waiting for it. 2 down as we take a look at our upcoming schedule. Sox will be home for Oakland, New York, and Texas. The Burley day tomorrow, then Sunday 1:10. Another family Sunday before the Yankees are in. A team that's fallen on hard times a little bit because of Oakland and a sweep that they put on the Yankees last week.
The Yankees have won just 2 of their last 10 games. They find themselves in a virtual tie with Boston. Yankees have 1 less loss. Boston has 1 more win. Surprising thing, perhaps, is Tampa Bay is sitting there in 2nd place. Well, actually 3rd place with the 2 teams tied for 1st, but they're only 2.5 games back.
Red Sox already won tonight. The Yankees and Rangers are tied in the 8th. No score. Masahiro Tanaka has a 3-hit shutout through 8. Yu Darvish has given up 2 hits through 7, and he's just come out of the game. To second, Hansen off the hop.
That's it, boys. That's 3 of them.
That'll do it. Bottom 9 next.
It's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite, and here is the Miller moment. And unfortunately, this a 2-run homer early in the ball game, and that really has been the difference in this one. Another solo home run by Joyce, the 2-run homer, the 19th by Chris Davis. And that brings Casilla out of the bullpen, looking for his 12th save, and this is 15th attempt. His ERA a little above 4.25 with a 1-2 record. He's taken over the closer role.
He has jumped the Bay Area to Oakland, and he'll face the Sox top of the order here in the 9th with ball 1 to start Melky.
Casilla with 12 walks, 25 in the 3rd. Usually a higher total than any closer would like, but it shows that there are times when he fights his control.
1-1 to Melky, who's 0 for 3 at the top of the card today. With a ground out to short, a fly out to left, and a strikeout. Well, we told you this Oakland bullpen is gettable, but they have thrown very well so far tonight. 3 innings of scoreless relief. Melky to center field, base hit. It's the 3rd time in 4 innings the Sox have had a leadoff single.
So Melky reaches out, dumps it into center field, and a promising way to start the 9th. This one dropping in front of Brugman.
And here's Jose Abreu still in search of his first home run of 2017.
Certainly be a wonderful time for it, as Casillas given up a couple of home runs this year.
Ball 1. This kind of has the feeling of a rally.
Got the right guys up, top of the order, against a vulnerable closer. And it's not exactly a lockdown closer, and had a lot of problems with San Francisco toward the end of his stay there.
Breaking ball missed, 2-0. Ricky Renteria and Tim Anderson both ejected in the 5th inning. Sox trying to come back, a little short-handed. That ball smoked to left field. The tying run will come up in the person of prospective All-Star Avi Garcia.
That fastball was about thigh-high, inner third without a lot of movement, and Jose drilled it through the left side. Maxwell going out to talk with Casilla. And no activity in the pen.
Here's Avi.
$25,000 plus. Looking for some 9th inning magic.
11 homers this year, a 12th would tie the game. Ball 1 for the 3rd straight batter. Ball 1. Different thoughts in different minds around this ballpark. In the air, right field. 1 down.
That one off the end of the bat. Not quite enough carry. Looked good leaving the bat, but he hit it in the wrong spot on the bat to get that kind of carry.
It's up to Todd Frazier, who has hit in 4 in a row, but has grounded out twice and struck out once tonight. Still some hope in this rally. Strike 1.
Todd Frazier 2 for 3 with a double lifetime against Casilla.
He fists this ball first base side. Alonso, long run. He dropped the ball. Throw to second is in time.
Jose Abreu is stuck in that situation. There's really not much you can do. Alonso, who's a very good defensive first baseman, looks like he's going to make this play. When he drops it, then Jose has to hustle. He can't get there in time, and this is not a bad base running play. It's just you get trapped. You can't get doubled off to end the game, and so he's stuck. Alonso, credit him with a heads-up play, because a lot of guys would panic. He's a veteran. A lot of guys would panic and wonder where to throw the ball, and he looked right away, knew there was probably a force out at second, and he got the force out. Big play by Alonso after missing the pop-up.
So Matt Davidson, first and third, 2 down. Breaking ball, strike one. The only thing somebody might say is, well, with Alonso out beyond the first base bag, maybe you get a larger lead, but there's a possibility of somebody covering as well.
Yeah, he doesn't know exactly what's going to happen. Again, as soon as, if Alonso had kept on running, Jose probably gets a bigger lead, but when he set up looking like he was going to make the catch, that's when he stopped.
2 strikes on Davidson, who's got 2 hits, and Yonder Alonso as calm as can be after that scramble.
What Jose Abreu doesn't know, he doesn't know if Casillas is going to go behind him at first base, so he can't take too many liberties down there. That was not a bad base running play.
0-2. Off the plate, 1 ball, 2 strikes. If you wanted somebody up,
this would be the guy
to hit the ball 450 feet.
Or 331, a line drive over the left field wall.
Can Davidson do it? 2 out, 2 on. Davidson in the air, center field. Brugman is there at the warning track. It was more than 330, but it went to the wrong place.
Well, unfortunately, not quite enough offense. Casillas does eventually get the job done, and Sox go down to defeat the first game of this long homestand.
Davidson nearly found the magic here in the 9th inning. Instead, Oakland wins by the count of 3-0. We will see you tomorrow for one of the great days in White Sox history, Mark Burley Day, coming up. For our producer, Keon Dolachahi, our director, Jim Angio, associate producer, Dave Ross, tech manager, Mark Harper, and the executive producer, Jim Corno Jr., our entire crew. He's Steve Stone. I'm Jason Benetti saying good night from Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago. Coming up next, Subaru Postgame Live. You've been watching Chicago White Sox baseball on CSN. Good night.